Hello everyone, here's my example of a project proposal. Each project proposal should start with the outline. So your topic, the driving question, the audience, and your guiding research questions. Remember, the guiding research questions or the essential research questions are only there to help you plan and do your project. You do not need to put these into your project proposal. Yes, indirectly you will be answering some of these questions in the different sections, but these will not be specific headings in the project proposal. The first section of a project proposal is the executive summary. This is an industry standard. It is a one-page or less summary of the proposal. If the audience that you have written this project proposal for only read one thing, it would be the executive summary. And from the executive summary, they would need to understand everything in your proposal. This section here identifies the thesis that I'm going to propose how teachers and students can use the iPad effectively. I more specifically talk about the thesis here. Then I talk about some solutions and benefits here. Okay. Specifically, one solution is stated in this sentence. A conclusion is stated here. The next section is the introduction. This looks at the context. It's a broad picture or a broad look at previous research. It's also setting the picture of the problem. What is your problem? And have a quick look at it in general terms. For instance, mine, okay, I've got a general problem here, okay, even extends down to here. I then quickly talk about the ABP and the UC. I also refer to previous research. This is in APA style, and my reference list is at the end. The current situation is next, and it develops the context. Your problem is going to happen in a local context for the audience, and you're writing to that audience about their current situation. So, I've done it about Zayed University students and faculty. So I'm now talking about the situation. Here, I use interviews to help set the context and help talk about the situation. I use one interview here. Because this is the first time I'm talking about the interviews, then I'll give a little bit of a methodology, how I set up the interview. I won't do this for each interview, but because I've done it for one, the first time I mention it, then that is sufficient to cover the research aspect. I also use research again. I use in general research here. It talks about adoption levels, and then I use a survey to make it more specific. These people are talking about this theory here. So it's applying the general theory to the local context. Again, this is the first time I talk about the survey, so I do give a little bit of the methodology. How many people? How did I send it to them? I used a single sample list of teachers. All this terminology here is helping me to refer to the survey methodology. The next part is the project plan. This talks about how you will handle the problem and also why. For me, I've talked about why I'm handling the problem in the way I do first, and then the how. I'm talking about specific implementation steps that will help me handle the problem. The how and the why are essential elements within your project plan. You might look at mine more specifically, and here I'm talking about creating learning products. Here I'm talking about apps, and then in the And then in the implementation plan, I've got specific steps how I'm going to achieve making learning objects and going about education with apps. The discussion of benefits is the next section. It certainly explains a lot of details. It helps the project plan by giving solutions and also effects. Here I've supported the discussion of benefits with interview data. I've put quotes here. I've used another interview here. I've used a little bit of research here. I also talked with a student about the iPad, so I've included information from the student here. Again, the survey that I did was there. So I'm using all this to help develop my discussion of benefits section. Finally, the conclusion. This is the last thing that the reader will read, so make it good, make it catchy. Make sure, of course, you summarize what your main thesis was, the project plan, and the discussion of benefits. Only 1 or 2 sentences about each of them to form the conclusion, please. At the end, I've put my references. These reflect all the references I've used throughout the whole of my project proposal to develop each section.